Well, the wagon is not charging. Battery died on me, so I threw the charger on it. I got it charged up and then tested it, and it failed the test. So if you want a quick, easy, simple test on how to check your charging system to see if it's working on these old cars, this is how you do it. So here's the basics of the charging system. You have your battery, which is a storage of energy. So when the car's off, you go to start it, it's gonna pull energy from the start or from the battery to turn the starter over, to put power to the coil. The engine starts, it starts running. Once it's running, our alternator is now spinning, and the alternator is now generating electricity. So now basically your whole car is running off the alternator, and in the meantime the alternator is recharging the battery, it's running your lights, it's running the coil, it's running anything electronic in the car. So this very simple test, you don't need any special tools to do it, is this. We're going to start the car, and then we're going to remove one of the terminals from the posts on the battery, and if the car dies, that tells us that the charging system is not working, and the problem is either the alternator or it's the regulator, or within the wiring you have a disconnect between the battery and the alternator, or you're not grounded very well somewhere. Yeah, I wasn't quick enough. I was going to reattach it to keep it running, but it died. So something's going on here. Check the field wires, make sure your field wires are on there. So you got two field wires on a 69. On a 68 it'll be a single field wire. Connector seems to be good there, but this is an older alternator that was laying around, so it's kind of my number one suspect. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it off, and I don't know, maybe take it to O'Reilly's and have them test it, and if it's not charging, then we know that's our problem. And it's pretty easy to change the alternator. So first thing we're going to do is disconnect the battery. Now that we got the battery disconnected, I'm going to disconnect the main power line. Watch out for the hot manifold. It's a 7/16 nut on here. And we just pull the field wires off by the connectors. It takes a 1/2-inch socket to remove the bolt down here for the belt adjuster, and then a 9/16 up here on the alternator bracket. There's some spacers and stuff behind the alternator to the head and right here in the middle of the alternator ears. So we want to make sure when we take this loose we don't drop all that stuff. Now that the threads are out of the head, I'm going to grab the spacer. I put this electric fan and radiator and set up after I had all this stuff assembled. So the bolt's kind of long, but I think we're okay. I think we just pull it all the way forward, and then now that that spacer's out of there, I can slide the alternator back. Oh, boy, you're going to be a pain, aren't you? There we go. Okay. And then I want to pull this piece out, this spacer here, because I'm going to need that. It's not going to come with the new alternator. And this is the larger 60 amp alternator, which I wanted because it's running the electric fans and stuff. All right, so we're going to go test it. If it's good, I'm going to buy another voltage regulator. And if it's bad, then I'm going to buy another alternator, and we'll go from there. Well, Riley's tested the alternator and it's good. I'll show the results on the screen here. So I went ahead and I bought a voltage regulator, generic one, VR125. So I'm going to swap that out. Hopefully that fixes the problem. All right, the voltage regulator is pretty easy to change, pretty quick. Give a little squeeze here to this metal clip and pull the connector off. 7/16 gets these two bolts out. Kind of bummed to lose my Mopar electronic voltage regulator that kind of looks factory, even though these didn't come on a 69. The engine harness I have on this has it's basically wired for the later style voltage regulator, this style. This actually would have been on a 1970 or later Mopar. But anyway, what's more important is that I have one that works. So this is a standard. Let's see if this does the trick. All right, let's test it again. Damn it. What is going on? All right. The alternator checks out. I do have power here at the post. Changed the voltage regulator, that didn't fix it. So now I'm going to check for continuity to make sure that the voltage regulator casing is grounded to the car and the block. And so I got a multimeter here set to ohms, got the little beeper on. Basically, this is what you want to hear. All right, if we hear that beep, then we have continuity. Okay, so it's grounding okay, where it's grounded. What the hell can it be? Alternator grounding okay? Let's see. Why is the alternator not grounding? We got ground between the chassis and the block. Should be grounded to the alternator too. I think that's the problem. I think the problem is it's not ground. The alternator's not grounding. All right, so I got the multimeter going to the radiator, and when I touch the block, so I got continuity there. The alternator's connected to the block. No continuity. This alternator's not grounding to the block. These alternator brackets, they're aftermarket, and I think, I mean, they're painted. Yeah, they look painted. I'm thinking maybe just the paint is insulating the alternator, because I think all this stuff, these sleeves, the bolt, the bracket, all have paint on them. And the bolt is getting screwed into the head, which that should be grounded, but I'm thinking the bolt it's just insulated from the alternator. You know, you got paint between the alternator bracket and the ear on the alternator. It's day 2. I had to go to work, so I couldn't finish. But basically, the alternator's checking out. Swapped voltage regulators, that didn't fix it. And it looks like there's no continuity between the block and the case to the alternator. So this is what I'm gonna do. So I'm just gonna take the wire wheel to this to clean it up, and to the case, clean it up, put them in there. Probably take the wire wheel to this too, a little bit. See if we can get our ground. All right, let's check continuity. Okay, let's see. Yay! We have continuity now. Good. All right, let's redo our test with the battery.